TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark Savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark sided stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. I am your host, TruthSeekah. Excited and delighted to be with you guys today. Got an awesome show lined up. We're going to get into some spiritual conversation for all of you people who are into spirituality. If you're seasoned and you've been in this thing for a long time, or if you're just coming into it, man, there's going to be some things that we're going to talk about that can help you wherever you are, and just some practical things to bring to the table to help you out in your day-to-day. Can't go any further without saying a huge thank you to all the Patreon supporters. You guys are the enablers. You guys help create this show and push it out there. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Give a quick shout out to some of the newest patrons that we have this last week. Here we Devin Ray. Thank you, my friend, for coming on and supporting the show. And Michael Payne. Thank you so much for coming on as well. These are two of the latest supporters within the last week. Like I said, huge thank you. Couldn't do it without you. If you would like to support, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to my entire discography of music, all of the music I've ever done, which is like 10 plus albums, 200 some odd songs. You get access to all of that. You get access to our Thursday night School of the Mystics sessions, where we've been hanging out just the last couple of weeks, but we try to get in and do some courses and stuff together, some prayer, some activation, and training and equipping in your psychic abilities, your intuition, how to hear the voice of the Spirit speaking to you, which many of you have been hearing your entire life. So we create a safe space where we can come together and kind of practice on one another. And we've had some phenomenal encounters. So we've been hanging out the last couple of weeks, but we're going to get back into some more courses and discussions and things like that. So you get access to that. That's every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central. Also, you get access to the Discord channel, which is in the description as well. So yeah, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah to support. And want to give a special shout out to the people giving at the light body level, the diamond body level. Shout out to Adam Brink and Noah. Thank you guys for supporting at that level as well. So without further ado, we're going to bring on today's guest, and we're going to get into some of this conversation for you guys. Molly MacCartney, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you today?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day.
Definitely.
How about you?
Doing good. Got my gotta give a quick plug here. Got my new TruthSeekah mugs in.
Nice.
Got me a
looking good.
cup of coffee there. So yeah.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Excited about this conversation. So a lot of times, like, people will send me a bunch of questions that they want me to ask, or whether it's promoting a book or about their past or whatever the case is. So, but usually I just like to just have organic conversation with people, and then the people listening on the podcast, they just get to sit in on like a first time conversation. So that's what this is. I've got some questions that I wanted to ask you, and usually like to start by going back to the childhood and the past and things like that. So we'll start there. But first, just kind of give everybody an introduction to who you are and what you bring to the table.
Well, my name is Molly MacCartney. I'm a master intuitive psychic medium, energy healer, and teacher from Orlando, Florida, still living in Orlando, Florida. Traveled around a little bit in the middle years, but serving here to help people ignite their own inner light. And I love what I do. I give readings, but my main calling is to mentor other people who are feeling intuitive and feeling a bit lost and not knowing what to do with their spiritual gifts, or repressing them because they feel ashamed or scared, or the world's told them that it's a scary thing. It's something that's so needed in this world right now, and it's coming back. And I've been there. I've been down the dark rabbit hole of not being able to live in my truth. And I feel it's so important to help people do that.
That's a huge part of the journey, is finally coming to grips with who you are and being okay with that. Was that a struggle for you? Was there like back and forth of fighting? I'm going to be public with what I believe, or I'm going to keep it to myself and work in the shadows type deal. Was that like a process of maybe months or years that took place for you?
It was definitely a lifetime process, and it still is, honestly, because I'm definitely more in the public eye now, and I have a lot of people who read what I write, and I feel more responsible to maintain clarity on the path and to make sure I'm presenting what I know to be true from my experience all the time. But yeah, it did begin when I was a little kid, like most of us. I was totally open with it, and then, there were people around me that said I was weird, or I was, just out there. And so I kind of had that weird stamp across my head a lot of my childhood. But, I kept it there. I was the only child, so I could play with spirit a lot. I could hear them in the wind. I could see them around my bed at night. And I just kind of went into this space of, well, maybe I am pretending, but it sure is amazing. So I'll just keep doing that. I shut it down due to loss of my father. I got really upset when I lost my father, as could be expected, completely heartbroken and shattered, and really shut down to spirit in my elementary years, and really struggled through childhood because of all that, and just stopped trusting the divine, basically. And when you don't trust the divine, you can still be very intuitive and very sensitive, but you have no guidance. You have no guiding light. So I knew that I could see things in other people. I could sense patterns, but I didn't know what to do with it. So that made me very confused. So I had a divine appointment, I call it, with tarot cards as a teenager. And that's where it was in the shadows a bit. But it was my saving grace, because I could finally navigate life through spiritual means and look at a spiritual level of reality, where before it was always like, well, this happened to me, and this is terrible. This happened to a friend. This guy dumped me. This, I'm not feeling well. All these things are going on. And so I just would numb out. But if I went to the tarot cards, I could look at it as a growth process. And so that's when it really started to bloom as a tool that I wanted to live with out loud. And then I took psychic development classes as a 20-something. And through that course of study, I really grew and healed. So I had a lot of negative things to overcome by that point, my early 20s to my early 30s. And that was when I really started to come out of the spiritual closet, as they call it, to my family, to everything, because they were a Christian and they loved me, and we're all good now. But I was so afraid that they would completely reject me, say I was doing something evil. I didn't even know what I was doing, especially when mediumship came in. I was like, how do I know these things? How am I hearing the exact thing this person needs to hear? And I can see their family member, what's going on. Because all the social training had told me it was just freaky. But it's not. It's beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's like, whenever we're coming up, there's so many people who have these similar stories. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is the fact that I wish I had somebody there to like help me and guide me, and this is the way to do it, and it's okay to mess up, and it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to be different as well. Like, we didn't really have those people there. It was like as far as, I'm in the Bible Belt, so we're definitely, dealing with the churches and coming out of religion. And if it was anything that kind of deviated from their belief system, not necessarily the Bible, because there's a lot of deep, crazy stuff in there that I like to bring out. But if it deviated from their doctrine and from their rules and things that they believe in, then you get shunned or whatever. So it's like you got to walk on eggshells, kind of, and you either with them or against them type deal with the belief system. So with like being open with it now, I hope that your story, this podcast, and there's thousands of people out there now who are embracing their messages. I'm hoping that they can reach out to younger people and help them, and not, so that they don't feel so isolated. Like, what would have happened if, when you were very young, if you had someone in your family, or it was just like an okay thing to explore those voices or explore those feelings of intuition or being connected with nature? Like, what would have happened then,
Well, I think that's why it was so hard when my dad died, because he was more open to it. And I've talked a lot with my mom over the years about it, and she's, she loves and accepts me. There's no issues there, but it took her some time to really get there with me. With him, he was already, talking to friends of his. I heard later, he would talk about mediumship and other worlds and other dimensions. He was very fascinated by that stuff. And I also have an aunt who practiced Wicca and really got into all of that. So she gets it, and so, but we weren't close in terms of distance. So I'd only see her every once in a while, but it was a saving grace to have at least those two people in the direct family to know that I'm not completely off the mark. I mean, there's something there in the family. And then friendship wise, I had some good friends, but I was still kind of the weird one for a long time until I did meet a really good soul friend to grow with in high school. And I noticed that with my clients, a lot of times they will meet a friend that they walk the path with together, and maybe it's twin flame. There's lots of different theories about what that is, but you can really finally find a home in somebody and say, okay, I'm not, we get each other finally. It's taken some time, but we get each other, and that's something I would tell any young person to believe in, that there are other souls here. You have contracts to meet up with them, divine appointments. It's going to be okay. And sometimes you walk that barren wasteland for a little while, and that's where you build faith, and you look back and go, oh my gosh, I'm so much stronger because I made it through that.
Did you ever get into any of the dark stuff? Did you start out within any of the dark magic, or looking into witchcraft or anything like that, contacting?
Luckily, no. I'm grateful for my Christian foundation because of that. I resonated with divine energy, and I knew the good feeling of that. So I never was tempted, and I've never been one to try to make things happen for myself or, manipulate things. That's just not in my nature. So I feel lucky. That's just out. I did have a friend who had experienced, somebody was in Necronomicon, I think. I can't remember what the name is, but some dark stuff. And I did, after I left the church around 14 years old, I started researching other religions. I got really fascinated and saw very similar stories in a lot of religions. So I did look into Wicca, but it's definitely not dark, contrary to what some people believe. It's beautiful nature-based worship. And I went to a Sabbat, and I've worked in a Wiccan store as a reader every now and then. So I consider myself a little bit witchy. I think anybody who is accepting their spiritual gifts and healing ability has that, but it's not in that dark witch way. So yeah, I feel lucky that I didn't go down that path. I'm pretty much protected by my guides. They won't let me.
Let me ask you this. So you talk about how like everybody is intuitive, and everybody has these dormant abilities for some of them, they were like more active whenever we were younger, and then through all types of stuff, training, suppression, lies, stuff like that, we kind of suppress those abilities and even ideas that those things exist or whatever. Most of the people I think who are like listening to a podcast like this, or who hit me up for services or whatever the case is, they're usually people who want to do what we're doing. Like I don't know if you've noticed that a lot of people who come to you for healing or for a reading, for me, I'm seeing the majority of the time they want to be healers themselves, or they feel intuitive and they don't know how that looks or how to tap into it or whatever. The message I got from Spirit some years ago was heal the healers. And it's all of these healers out there who need to be healed first. First, it was myself, right? Heal, you know what I'm saying? Heal yourself, then heal the healers. Are you seeing that as well? Is there like a resurgence of this stuff? Are people wakening up to their abilities, and is there room for them here?
Absolutely. I totally see that. And my clients and the folks that tend to come to me, it's almost as if I'm giving them permission to finally live out loud. So they're not necessarily going to go into doing the work. Some are. A lot that take my program are looking to be spirit workers, energy workers, readers, and they want to integrate that power into what they're doing and finally just stop playing small. Yeah, that's by the time you're already on the path, you're already picked up some skills and have awakened to your gifts, but you're like, all right, enough making excuses. I'm going to do this. That's when you come to me. Yeah, I feel like that's the vision that I've gotten. And years ago, I mean, I download all the time, divine downloads, we call them, of course, through readings. That's what I do all the time, every day. But years ago when I was developing, I did a lot of what you just said. I would sit and just listen to Spirit and I would get lots of guidance. And it was a vision very similar to that. I love that you asked that question because I wonder if this was going to come up, that the second coming is actually in humanity. That we're not waiting for just one person to come, that the Christ consciousness comes through people who are waking up and are expressing those gifts through healing. Because as Christ said, this and more you shall do yourself. And there's a whole verse on spiritual gifts. And I'm not a scholar, so I don't remember the numbers and the names, but you know, there's lots of little pieces in there that state, you know, we're coming. And if we support each other in that, you know, we can't have a world, especially in the religion area, that's saying, no, don't wake up those gifts. Those are scary. You're not allowed, because that's what's going to help balance the world. So yeah, I think that's really important.
It's beautiful because it's all throughout the Bible, man. It's from everywhere from Genesis to Revelation, spiritual giftings, and you know, they just feel like they own the terminology or whatever. But really, as far as being a Berean and just really tearing up the scriptures and cross-referencing and stuff and studying everything, ESP is usually like where it's at. They're just different offshoots of ESP and being able to sense the spirit through the different bodily functions and the five senses or whatever, six senses really. That you know what I'm saying, you're able to feel and discern that. And there's examples throughout the scriptures where Jesus and the disciples were, you know, waking up in the middle of the night and they had a dream and they were led to, you know, to go to this city, you know, as part of your destiny, those synchronicities and things. And it's all throughout the Bible. So it's really beautiful to eventually find out what this show exists to do, is not to condemn people, but to let them know that, you know what I'm saying, even the Bible doesn't condemn them. It promotes what they're going through. So that's the beautiful thing about it. When somebody comes to that understanding that God is not against me, even from a Judeo-Christian experience, you know, God is for me and he's for these abilities and things like that. It's beautiful. It's changing people's lives. I mentioned dreams. I mentioned, you know, the spirit speaking to us in dreams and intuition and stuff. And there's a lot, even in the scriptures, about the dream state, and that's where God speaks to us. I mean, our pineal gland releases DMT whenever we sleep, and we go into these enchanted realms, and God deals with us, signs and symbols and dreams and figures and things, and all types of interesting things, weird things happen in the middle of the night when we sleep. And you talked about having conversations with what you would say were spirits in the middle of the night in the dream state. Can you talk a little bit about that and what actually happens whenever we dream?
Well, that specific memory, I saw them more clearly as a child. And it's kind of funny, as I grew and I started to consciously practice my psychic ability, I got to a point where I could see again. And I said, please don't, because it was too much for me to stay grounded and actually see spirit. But I have still seen, and it's mostly like light outlines, light bodies, shadow. I've seen shadow people too as well. But that particular memory, it was my group of guides. I call them almost like the council. And now they speak in a voice of we. So they're just one consciousness. But I saw it was around 6 to 8 of them around my bed. And it was just these beautiful orbs of light and looking like light beings around the bed. And I just felt safe. I felt comforted, and they put me to sleep. I'd feel sleepy. And then I guess I would dream. I know I had a lot of flying dreams. I had a lot of interdimensional dreams, and I try to explain them to my babysitter in the morning or to my family. And I just, thinking I could fly at 4 years old and trying to jump and fly. And I was so confused why it didn't work in the physical realm. But yeah, they've been with me all along. And that's something they tell me a lot, that when we go into deep meditation, that's more of my adult experience of them, is trance meditation, which is like sleeping while you're still a little bit aware. And that practice is, oh my God, it's so amazing. It's the most relaxing thing you can do. But trusting that when you start downloading information or hearing those voices, if they are uplifting, if they're healing, it's good. And I know there are evil things out there to look out for. I feel lucky I have not seen that in the way that other people have.
Yeah.
But that's important to clear yourself, protect yourself, look to the divine to help you do that. But yeah, that's how they come, and they just speak in blocks of thought and sentences and things that I couldn't generate on my own, especially back in the day when I was developing. I was like, that's not, and even now I'm a human being. I'm a normal woman. I walk around, I cook dinner, I do laundry, I have cats, I have a boyfriend, I have life. So deep mystical thoughts is something that comes from another source. I can never take credit for that. And I think that's important, whether it's in dreams or meditation, to know it is coming from an important place.
Someone here, I don't know if this is Allie or Kenny, a friend of mine, says voices of we. You said that they speak as in we. Let's focus in on the voices. Hearing voices, I mean, when we're talking about that, that's, it could be dangerous.
Yes.
Could be good. There's scriptures. The scripture says that Jesus says, my sheep know my voice, in a stranger's voice they will not follow. So there's this voice there. Jesus, as far as, existing physically, is long gone, but he's here in essence through us. The second coming, like you spoke about. I want to talk about how that sounds, because I think this could help people. And I think by bringing our pieces of the puzzle together and seeing what it looks like, it'll help people do the same thing. They have their pieces they're trying to figure in and trying to make sense of what we're talking about. We're hearing voices, or the spirits are speaking to me. These type of things can be scary. And I'll say this for me, just from my experience, and you let me know how because I want to know how they sound. Is there a tone, right? For me, as a Christian, coming up as a Christian, right, hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit, it's an inward knowing. It's what we call a still small voice. The Bible calls it a quickening in my spirit, an inward knowing. Sometimes you can hear it. It's an inward dialogue, an inward conversation. The voices of we, from a Christian standpoint, would be, okay, well, is it the Holy Spirit speaking to you? Is it God speaking to you? Or is it Jesus speaking to you? Or maybe it's the angels it's that essence. It's the inspiration. They don't sound different. Like God doesn't talk and then Jesus talks and then the Holy Spirit. They're not like having this, and I've been led by those voices, right? As a Christian, as a believer, I've been led by the voice of God, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's a we. The three are one. It's a we. And I'll say this also, while stargazing, communicating and seeing angelic lights in the sky, starships, and what we would call UFOs, or I would call the Elohim, seraphim, the cherubim, the angelic lights that are up there. They communicate as well. There's no difference in the voice. There's no extra bass in the voice of God. Like it's a communication thing, and to understand like what voice it is or how that voice sounds for me is judging the fruit in what they're telling you. Like they don't sound different, or hey, that's a demon talking to me. That's this. I think you have to judge by the fruit. Is that kind of what it feels like for you too? Like do they sound differently? Is there a different vibration with the angelic versus the demonic? I'll say that the demonic brings a state of confusion and dysphoria and fear and things like that. But when the angelic, it's a beauty, peace, higher consciousness, and love, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, now that you're breaking it down like that, I see the details of that question, and that's really cool. So yeah, for me, and what I teach my students all the time is, you know what you're dealing with how it makes you feel. Like you said, if you feel dysphoric, you feel off, it's going to be like, look out for that.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't like allow another person, or some of us do, and we have to learn to stop allowing another person to make us feel that way when they talk to us. It's like, if they say something, that doesn't feel right. Well, they're probably manipulating. They're lying. They're trying to get something out of you, or they're abusing you. You know, you have to like be able to recognize that. And that can be a journey for a lot of us. And it certainly was for me when I was younger. But then once I got that clear, and actually my communication with spirit helped me get clear on the human realm about that. Oddly enough, it was very, very interesting that by being able to tell spirit and put boundaries with spirit, I started doing it with people. But yeah, it's a feeling, and it is like a welling up from within. It's almost like when I'm in a trance state and I'm feeling that, it's almost as if it's coming through, the sound is coming through my atoms in my body. And it feels amazing. I feel like I'm being infused with wisdom and an understanding, even though God will always say, and the higher spirit will always say, you'll never really understand it, so stop trying. And that's part of the like release of, faith. I call it fractal thinking. You start asking lots of questions like, well, how does this work? And how's that working? Yeah. And they're like, shh, we'll give you just enough to show you, that it's all good and it's all balanced and we've got this. And I have sensed some dark energies. And I will say this about dark energies. In my experience, when I've gone into them, it has been, when you really look at it, it's usually been a spirit that is stuck in a dark place or a sad place. Again, I haven't had the demonic sort of experience that I've heard of out there. But when I've looked at something that feels dark and demonic and scary, and there's been a couple of times where I've worked to send a spirit to the light, and it was deep abuse on behalf of this spirit that they were still living over and over again. It was very disturbing to look at. But to go in there as a spirit worker and send her into the light was really important. And it took the dark energy out of the house that I was in. Otherwise, a lot of clearing, Palo Santo, sage, and really doing a lot of energy clearing in a home where dark energy is stuck is important. And the other thing that came up when you asked me that question was sometimes earth energies can sound a little dark until you really feel like it'll feel like that low. We talk about the deeper voice of God. Like I've more experience in a drum circle once. It was really going really heavy. And all of a sudden I started to hear this almost like a growl, like a jaguar growl underneath the drums. And I'd never heard that before. And I still to this day, I'm not sure if it was kind of a dark energy coming in because of certain people in the group, or it was an earth energy, because every once in a while that earth energy will come in. I'm like, what is that? That is not the angels. That is not the extraterrestrials I know. Yeah. So you have to be very discerning, but again, it's how it makes you feel, and spirit, God, the angels and benevolent energies from other dimensions will always seek to educate and heal. There will be no manipulation. They will never tell you to do something. They will never tell you this person's really wrong and you need to fix it, or you need to go do something to balance this out. It's simply about being. They're going to teach us about being and how to be with others and to grow our hearts in compassion. And that's my experience. That's when you're working with the higher energies.
For me, I think it's like whatever you're doing in life, like if you're doing wickedness, if you're doing bad stuff that you shouldn't be doing, and you're going against that inward knowing that, hey, this is wrong. And I think then if you try to tap in at those levels, sometimes you deal with whatever you're entertaining. If you're walking in the light as he is in the light, you will not gratify the lust of the flesh. You won't be doing the negative egoic things because you're walking in the light. But if you're manipulating people, you're lying, you're cheating and all this stuff, and then you still call yourself a light worker, and then you try to tap into the other sides, I think you are susceptible to have those negative demonic encounters. And I think you just really see and communicate with the beings of whatever level you're vibing at. And if you're doing all that stuff, you're going to have those type of experiences. At least I did anyway. But now that, people ask me, because I have these crazy, scary stories, man, when I was a teenager doing black magic and witchcraft. But now they're like, okay, now have you been attacked? Have you had this? And like, everything's been beautiful now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm at this level now, I've dealt with the lower level stuff. And now when I tap in, it's all beauty. It's all Christ consciousness. It's all of the light,
awesome. That is awesome. And that shows that journey. That's a pretty amazing journey, to be able to see the shadow side and come back and know. And it is about looking at the shadow in ourselves, which it's very important for everyone, because we all do have the dark side. And it's important, no matter what happens, how you play that out in your life, to acknowledge you have it and to see what's in the dark corners before they do take over. I
got lucky.
Good.
I got lucky. Amazing. I live to talk about it, man. Yeah,
good.
I came out of it.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Somebody, Leslie here is mentioning, and we'll just jump on this question right quick. She's mentioning that her cousin had some type of mist-like spirit. I've seen mist spirits, right? She said it tried to go in their mouth. I've also had a friend of mine who was on like heavy drugs, a bunch of pills and stuff, and then he had a spirit get on him and try to go in his mouth. Is there something significant with going in through the mouth, or is it symbolic of your voice? What do you think would go on with some type of negative entity trying to gain access through the mouth?
I would be very careful of any spirit that tries to enter without your invitation. That's just my rule, and I just stick to that. I don't know that I've had that experience or heard of it, but I'm not saying it doesn't happen. If it does, it's simply like, stand up and say, you have to make your energy larger than the mist. It's like, it's a bully. It's probably not trying to do anything good if it's not asking permission first, and it doesn't feel good. If it feels like it's forcing itself on you, there could be healing happening if the person needed to be calmed down. But again, it would probably, you can also ask spirit to come another way. If it is a healing spirit, if it is your guides trying to help you, say, well, that's too crazy for me right now. Can you come another way? And they'll figure out another way to come to you where it's not scary, if it is indeed them.
I haven't seen spirits enter through the mouth. I've seen them leave through the mouth on several occasions of getting in deep prayer and deliverance with people and coming out. I've like pulled it out with my mouth with an inhale, pulled it into me, and then released it because I knew what to do with it. But I've seen, and we've talked about this on several of the past episodes, of like, even in Christian deliverance, there was this realm where like people would start coughing whenever they were going through deliverance and negative things were being released out of their life, and they would start coughing and gagging. And it became normal. And like all my friends who were going through this type of deliverance ministry, it became like mid conversation would start choking, or you tell them a truth that just like hit them to the core that they needed, and then they start gagging. It was really weird. But
it does make sense though, because breath is life, breath, and that is vibration. That's what runs through everything. So it does make a lot of sense, actually.
So I mentioned starships. I mentioned, lights in the sky, UFOs. We're talking about angels and things like that. Have you ever physically seen anything supernatural? Has there ever been, like, I know we get impressions and we feel the chills and we're at one. There's just all of this stuff that you don't need to see. But have you ever seen anything cross over, whether it be good or bad, or a ghost, an angel, a UFO, something like that? Have you ever seen anything cross over?
Well, I definitely have had a few moments where I was a UFO spotter, and there was it's not in me all the time, but there's just been certain moments in life. It's like, look at the sky, look at that, and I'm just like, that's different. And there was one year where I constantly saw these really interesting comet-like things, and Spirit was telling me that's information. It was right when things were getting really rocky in the world. I mean, really rocky. Right after 2012, I think it's like there was just all kinds of stuff happening. And I was like, what are these things? I've seen like 4 of them in 3 months, and I've never seen them before in my life, and other people aren't seeing them. But they are physical things in the sky. I'm funny. I look up the scientific explanation and the spiritual explanation for all the things that I experienced. So there is a scientific one. And they were saying there was messages to calm down humanity. We needed to be calm so that we didn't overreact. And it was something that a vibration they were sending to us. That was actually during my trance meditation classes. And I've been really lucky to develop in safe circles and groups with a teacher. So that's most of my supernatural experiences happened in kind of that container. And I guess spiritualism is where my teacher comes from. So a lot of the experiences I've had are similar to any spiritualist you talk to. Transfiguration on the face is something that happens a lot with trance meditation and channeling. So you can actually see ectoplasm rise from the face and it changes shape. I've seen that many times. It's fascinating. And also the light bodies when I started to develop as a medium. And I've talked to other mediums that see things all the time walking around. And you can literally do that with your guides and say how much you want to take. Like, I'm here, I'm working for you, I'm of service, but just let's turn that off. Let's turn it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that was fascinating and amazing. And shadow people and little fairy spirits, I get a little annoyed at them in my house when they bother my animals. So I've seen a lot of that, and the people that know me just laugh, and I have to get out the stage and tell them to go away and clear out the space. But you can tell with your animals if they're acting really strange and there's no bugs in the room, they're chasing invisible things. My dogs and cats both have had that. And I just say, do not mess with my animals. You're driving them crazy. And I deal with that accordingly. But that's been most of it, what I can think of right now. But to me, it's so natural. Like, I'll just see things, or when I'm in nature, I do a lot of nature walks. That's a huge teacher for me, the trees, the ground, the rocks. And I'll have visions and see things, mists and orbs and things like that. And I just love it. It's just like, oh, this is the real world,
It's like, I mean, it's like all there, but you're privy to it if you want to see it. Sometimes I think it's by accident, or we're just at the right, place at the right time and a location, and you see it, and a lot of times it changes your life. But what I found out is like whatever you're looking for, you're gonna find. Like, if you want to see fairies, if you want to see UFOs, if you want to see demons, or whatever the case is, and it shifts your consciousness and you begin to look for that. I mean, that's even true about, dogma and doctrine. People who are watching this show and trying to pick the things that they don't agree with and the things that doesn't fit their belief system and stuff. And you have those people too. But then there's other people watching who are like, oh, I love that. Yes, I agree with it. So beautiful. Those type of people too. So it's all about your consciousness and what you're looking for, you're going to find, right?
Absolutely. And you just made me recall a story of when I asked Spirit to really show me something I couldn't deny. I came home from a development class and I was like, all right, I said things I couldn't possibly know. Obviously, this is something I'm getting into. My teacher had told me early on, you think you're going to get your graduate degree in art therapy, but you're going to actually do this. And sure enough, I'm doing this now. And at the time I said, no way, I'm not doing this. This is just fun for me. But I went home and I said, okay, Spirit, show me something that I can't argue with. And I know my dad was very close to me at that time, really working with me in a safe way. So I feel it was probably him. As I went to bed that night, I fell asleep pretty quickly and I woke up, the lights were still on. I think I was working on astral travel that night. I wanted to just kind of play with that a little bit. And I fell into sleep while I was doing that. And I woke up and felt 2 hands on my ankles yank me down on the bed about 3 inches. And if I had not asked for a sign, I would have been terrified. I was anyway. I said, okay, that's enough. I believe you. I believe you. And I said, don't do that again. Don't do that again. I'm not going to test you again. But I feel like they were kind of laughing at me like, okay, well, all right, stop testing us. And it was, for me, again, a safe thing to experience. But if I had not asked, if I hadn't been looking for it, I would have had a problem with that. Yeah. So, it happens. It is Spirit, especially your guides, especially any benevolent spirit that wants to serve through you or help you in your life is just waiting for you to ask. Yeah. To wherever you're ready to begin and start communicating and start using that wisdom in your life, they're just sitting there waiting. So
There's
a
there's a scripture, a quote that Jesus said, and I think it's universal. He said, "You have not because you ask not." You know, and Paul repeats it as well. You have not because you ask not, and that's for everything. That's for anything, like across the board. It works with spirit as well. If you're wanting to see things, if you're wanting to, you know what I'm saying, be in tune. But yeah, it gets weird, man. It gets weird at night, and it's getting weirder. You would think that things would be a little bit more normal, but in the middle of the night, man, there's just so much stuff that happens in my bedroom, man. It is insane. I don't know if it's all in my head or whatever, or when I'm dreaming, I go to these weird places. But but when you're open to that stuff and they communicate with you, like the fear is you're gonna wake up and there's a little alien there. Like you don't want to be startled. And I know, like what's the name? Jordan Maxwell would say, like, they were out gazing at UFOs and having all crazy encounters with UFOs and starships and stuff. And they went back to the hotel and he's like praying and he's speaking. He's like, I'm open for this contact, but I don't want you to wake me up in the middle of the night as a little gray alien standing in my bedroom and startle me. Please don't do that, whatever you do. You know what I'm saying? So he's putting that intention out there that I don't want that to happen. But the things that go bump in the night, man, and the spirits, and when we close our eyes and that DMT is released, man, God really communicates with us with the things we've been suppressing, or things about other people or about our future or the astral realms. I mean, so much stuff is going on. I don't want to say that I'm tormented by it. It is weird. You know what I'm saying? I'm not tormented. It is weird, but you have to like, you know, it becomes normal though, right? You have to. I always cover myself in prayer, and you know, make sure that the angels are watching over me and stuff. But I remember that, you know, there were people that I knew back in the day who were into black magic, where they were like literally tormented in the nights by spirits in their house and stuff, and they really had no control over. It's like their house was like an open portal to whatever spirits that wanted to come through, you know. So covering yourself is important, right?
And clearing. I have this conversation a lot with my local students. We talk, you know, a lot of people talk about protection. It can be very exhausting to think I've got to protect myself from all this stuff. I teach clearing. So making sure, because we're all connected no matter what. We're connected to the spirit world, just like we were talking about. Inner dimensions, it's all there. And it is what we notice or don't notice. And if energy is particularly strong, it will wake you up. Like in this house, this house was built in 1940. It's an old bungalow house, one of the first in Orlando. And when we moved in, I could not sleep at night. And I'm a really good sleeper now. I still do some interdimensional travel. I'll have those dreams where I was doing some work somewhere. I'll just feel extra tired when I wake up. So we definitely do that in our sleep. And we definitely download in our sleep too. Yeah. But this was something else. It was like an entity or an energy in the house. It wasn't evil. It just felt like it was uncomfortable for me. And I was almost like not welcome. And, you know, other folks in the house didn't notice because they're not tuned into that world as much as I am. So I would get up, I would do sage clearing, I would do Reiki clearing throughout the house. And I had to do this several times. And then we had to clear out the crawl space in the bottom of the house in the attic. And when we finally cleared out about 4 decades of stuff that was just kind of left behind, the house was clear. So, you know, stuff can hold energy too. And that's the whole art of feng shui, to get your inner, you know, your home's energy clear, because spirit will kind of congeal into cushions and blankets and old things, and it'll latch on. It's like, you know, old energy will just stick around. So it's really good to keep that stuff cleared out, just like you clean your body. And that will help a little bit. But I have had that same experience, and I'm like, oh, okay, someone's back. And every once in a while I have to periodically cleanse again because it's an old house, you know?
Yeah. There was like, you know, we're talking about that everybody's intuitive and everybody has spiritual giftings and abilities and stuff. And, you know, we come to that understanding at different stages and different points in our lives. And we're talking about healing. And I think that the best way to tap into those things or to unlock those things is first heal the healers. First, you know what I'm saying, do the work that you need to, you know what I'm saying, do within. We're talking about healing. what does that look like in a tangible way for somebody? Like, I know we're talking about it, but what do we mean by healing? How does that start? Healing from what? What you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a big question. And it's so much more than going to get energy work done. I'll tell you that, or get even a Reiki attunement. It
can start there though, right?
It's a good place to start. That's a activation. You get an activation, but it's what you do with the activation in your life. And so for me, my place of darkness was in my darkest place. Through my teens, I had a lot of dark places. And then the darkest was in college, where I weighed 90 pounds more than I should. I was a junk food junkie. I had several physical conditions, and I was on 5 medications by the time I was like 22. And my grandma was on like 19, which drove me crazy. But I was like 5 in my 20s, like, no, I'm not going to live like this. And I was very depressed, suicidal thoughts. And look at me now. I mean, I'm one of the happiest people you'll meet. But back then I was really in despair and really in fear and in the shadows. And I knew, because I had kind of shielded my vision since I was so angry at God as a child, that I had not opened up to divine guidance. I didn't have faith, and I had to work on my life, and I had to do it with the spirituality intact. So I knew I was walking around blindfolded. That's what I called myself. Like, I can see, I'm not blind, I'm not lost, but I've just blindfolded myself. So I had to take that blindfold off and start making choices. So it's great to have inspiration. It's great to feel the healing energy coming in. But if we don't do anything different in our lives physically, it's like, I teach coming down through the chakra system. You start with the crown chakra, you go to the third eye, you go to the throat, you start speaking your truth, you find out what brings you joy, you find out what brings you power, and you go, but you have to plug it in at the root chakra level. And then that's the most challenging part to me, was to change how I behaved, how I thought, how I ate, balancing, the fun stuff like alcohol, and, really making sure that I didn't go completely ascetic and completely like a monk. I could enjoy life, but not go over the deep end. And so I think that's a big healing thing. And it's about self-love, about loving your human self. Because it's easy to love our spiritual self. It's amazing. Like when you really tune into that, like, oh my God, it feels so great. And a lot of people get stuck up in the psychic centers and not want to come down. And then life is just really crappy for them. And I was there, and I wanted to just disappear. And that's where I wanted to die. Like, let me just stay up in the upper chakras, and it's not time for me yet. And I've got to come down and be in this world. And that's most people that are suffering in that space are the ones we need here, to be in the world, present with their spirits and heal. So that's the challenge. And when you can do it for yourself, that self-healing journey, you can encourage others. You can be an example for others, just like Christ, living by example,
Yeah,
and all the modalities you can throw at it. Whatever feels good to you, use it.
That's a big one too, as far as like being okay to have a good time, or not being so spiritual minded that you're no earthly good type deal. And like with the Gnostic beliefs, and even some of the like really strict Christian beliefs, is like anything that brings your flesh or your body pleasure, then it's evil. And if you abstain from anything that makes you happy, then you're more godly than others or whatever. And there was just, it's a poverty mentality, all types of stuff that come along with that. And I had to kind of break out of that. And what did it for me was what kind of put it on me is I seen people do it the wrong way, especially with money and with cars and clothing, and it was like this ambition within the Christian circles for me was like they never had enough. They always wanted more. It was always, once they got that good job, you want a better job. You got to get the better. And it was always like just moving up this weird materialistic corporate ladder type deal. And I was like, man, that looks like the furthest thing from Christ. And so it kind of, pushed me on the other side to the poverty thing. It's like, okay, you got to forsake money, you got to forsake riches and forsake the fun things. But it's about a balance of being able to go out and have fun, go see a good movie, eat a good meal, enjoying the delicacies of life, having fun, having a few drinks, kicking back type stuff. Like, did you ever become like super spiritual or almost become like a monk type deal and kind of push that stuff away? I mean, incorporating that for me has been like big, huge, right? Have you ever had to deal with that?
Actually, yes. And it's interesting because, in our culture and depending on your family, if that's part of the social structure of family, without the negative side of, true alcoholism where it's really a problem, it can be challenging because there really is nothing wrong with enjoying the fruits of the earth. It's about balance. And I did go through a time where I was very, spirits here, likes to blink my lights in my in my office. But, so I did go in college. I did have 6 months where I was extremely ascetic. I cut out everything. I was also a pretty regular smoker, heavy smoker. Had to quit cigarettes, quit everything, and to deal with my stuff. So one thing I want to say about that is, in the beginning, if you are really looking to spiritually awaken, it's hugely important to cut out that stuff in the beginning and to show yourself that you can live without it and find joy without it. I find that's very important. And I went through that a couple of different times. The next time was strict vegetarian, vegan for many years. And then there was spans in that where there was absolutely no partying, no nothing. And I really needed to come home to myself. So anytime I would do anything like that, it was like leaving myself behind. And I knew that's the energy I was doing it with. So if you know you're numbing, if you know it's to deal with your problems and you don't know how else to find joy, that's something to question. And that's just for good balance. But if it's in celebration and it's because you're enjoying the taste that goes with the meal and you're going to have a nice time with your friends within moderation, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. And I certainly enjoy wine myself, but I make sure I watch it. And if it's ever something that feels like, it's something I need in my life, or I can't say, that's important to look at that. And I've asked Spirit about that many times because of the teachings that always say you need to be completely free of all that stuff. Again, when you're awakening and setting your path straight and really finding your truth, it's really good. And if you know that you're on it and you can bring it back in moderation, know that what Spirit would tell me is know that as long as it is in celebration and not in coping, then you're on your path.
Yeah, that's good.
And so that's something that I advise everyone to ask. I ask myself and I stay in that, because one thing I've noticed with all of that stuff, and this came up when you were starting the question before Zoom went down, is when we repress that stuff, as we see with the priest and all the scandals that are becoming very open now, which don't surprise me at all. I just always knew this stuff was going on. You can feel it. You can feel the weirdness around things. But repression of those human desires, like strict repression, causes it to come out in the shadows. Energetically, we are made of dark and light. We're made of, kind of that clear space and that filled space of stuff. And if we say we're just going to stay clear completely, the stuff's going to want to come in. And it's not necessarily because it's evil or because it's the devil. It's because we're humans, and there's things to play with. There's things to explore. There's pleasures to be had. And the difference is mistaking your connection to the divine through those things. So your promotions, money, buzzing, sex, whatever it is, looking great. If you cannot find your peace and you can't find your connection to God without that stuff, that's a problem. If not, then play with it, enjoy it. Colette Baron-Reid is a reader that I look to. She's kind of a hero of mine, and she always says, be in the world, but not of the world. Yeah. And wear the world like a loose garment. And I love that kind of visual that, I'm playing, I'm enjoying life, but I'm not identified with it. I think that's where the word sin comes in, that we mistake earthly things for God.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's deep, because, I think a lot of people do that. I think I've done that. I mean, we're just trying to learn. We're trying to figure it all out. So, we really don't have that person there, which I think we have them there when we're looking for them now, and we have the Spirit with us, which is the best teacher, right? Who's going to lead us to different people, lead us to podcasts, lead us to documentaries, videos, whatever we need to kind of teach us through everything around us, through the burning bush, through the speaking donkey, through the writing on the wall, the used things that are in our lives to teach us. And that's the best thing ever. But like understanding what sin is, or what the world is, or what is secular, what is not of God, or whatever the case is. And so there's this weird notion there in Christendom that it's like, if it's not Christianity, then it's demonic, or if it's not in the Bible, then it's demonic type deal. And so because there's these translations of world that is worldly, so it's not of God, which is not the case of what sin is. When we were trying to break that stuff down, what it really means it's essentially what you said, like addictions, like the things that are killing you, the things that you feel like you can't live without. And a lot of times you can feel that setting in. I know I do, and my wife does. It's like you can feel it saying, okay, do we need this? Do we, it's just becoming a habit. If it is, let's break it. Don't give anything power over you. And you know what I'm saying, can you quit? And that's the thing. For us, we're aware of that. We're conscious of that. I've done my own healing. I started young too, so I guess I have that advantage over just, I guess, a lot of people. But we'll go out drinking with friends, and we still have those friends who are drinking to forget. Like, hey, what are you doing, man? It's like pills. Like, oh, hold on, you're out of line. What's going on? And we're just gonna drink. We're gonna have dinner and have a drink. You're ordering like all this stuff, and we have those friends that still do that. And I'm like, man, this guy, he's got a lot of childhood wounds and hurt that I know these people personally. That, man, that's why you're doing that. And a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, just because it's a liberty to us to go out and do that, not everybody can do that. Some people, if you give them that first drink, they're gonna spiral out. I know people personally, they're gonna start eating the pills. They're gonna try to smoke crack, like crazy stuff. Like, really, one drink led you to go smoke crack for the night. Like, it's really weird. And it's just, that's the healing we're talking about. That's why you need healing. There's a lot of people like that. And I think at the end of the day, you have to know yourself and know your triggers. And if you're not healed and you have that going on, still know yourself and know what it's going to lead you to do. It's going to trigger you, and you're going to spiral out. You got to know yourself, right?
Absolutely. And sometimes, just like illnesses come to people to teach them to walk in faith, sometimes people have that addiction as their lifetime illness. And so it's something they walk with all the time.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
really
deep too.
important to know that, like that's there with me. Like, I'm going to have to deal with that. For me, it's food. I was 90 pounds overweight, so I have to watch it when I'm eating. I love the, good cooking. I love going out to eat. And then I'll notice, the pounds are creeping up, and it's not a vanity thing. It's like, I'm doing that thing again. I'm not taking care of my body temple. And that doesn't feel good anymore. Before, it was numbing, so it felt better than my pain. Now I feel good. So if I'm starting to feel sluggish, or I feel I don't have energy, it's just like, it's all about how I'm feeling. And the same thing with any kind of, celebrational stuff. So it's important to know when you're staying in balance. And it's about staying conscious, making a choice consciously. I'm doing this because of this. Yeah. Not just because I don't know what else to do, or because I'm in so much pain, and then also to forgive the self, if that does happen. I think if there's anybody out there listening that says, oh my gosh, that's me, like, be kind to yourself, because that's something that will perpetuate the illness is, you feel shame, so you cover up the shame. And it's important to seek the light with that too. I think I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. It's deep, man, because you're talking about, like, some people are going to have to deal with some stuff their whole life. Like, you may not never get over a certain thing. There's always going to be that thing there that might trigger you, and I don't think there's really rules to it. You know what I'm saying? To actually know what that is. From the Christian perspective, and I've been on this journey of just trying to, like, wrap my mind around this, because, like, there's just two thoughts. evangelical Christians are like walking in miracles and power and signs and wonders and things like that, and healed and healed from everything in your life, cancer, character defects, anything you can think of to be healed from it, a broken leg, anything. And they believe that anything negative is a demon or it's demonic or whatever the case is. And so understanding now, like, of reading the Bible for, even for a frame of reference, is that like these demons or ailments come into our life for a reason. Like, they were sent to teach us something. That's biblical from Genesis to Revelation. Most of Christendom don't, teach that or believe it. But it's biblical. And so of trying to like rationalize, okay, which demons do we cast out and which demons do we learn from type deal as well, right? To actually figure out what's going on with our lives. And you said that some of those things we're going to have to deal with for a while. I mean, we look at the Apostle Paul. He talks about like the thorn in the flesh, that he had this ailment, this thing that was messing with him. And he sought God in prayer and fasting on 3 special occasions that God would take it away. And it says God wouldn't take it away, and just says, my grace is enough. My grace is sufficient. You know what? And it's like, you know what? That thing might not ever leave, but like, will you still follow God? Will you still do the right thing even though it's there? So trying to figure out, people are like, coming to us to pray for them or to do energy healing, get this out of my life. Like, hold on. God's trying to teach you something. Sometimes that's a scary thing to try to wrap your mind around, that God is the one behind some of the discomforting things in your life, right?
That's an awesome point. And yeah, this is a great conversation because I've looked at this a lot, and in my world, we talk about medical intuition as well, where you're looking at the chakra system and finding why certain illnesses are related to how you're living your life or what's going on internally. That's creating an internal environment. And in that world of thinking, just like in the biblical world or the Christian world of thinking that's a demon, it's like people get very blameful of themselves. Like, oh, why did I create this? Or what's wrong with me? Why can't I get it right? And it's like illness after illness coming on, and especially when it's chronic and it's unsolvable, or, doctors don't know what to do and people are suffering. A lot of time it is a spiritual reason, and it is about walking in faith, and it is about self-care and taking care of the body temple differently. And for me, I guess my big affliction in life, it's good to boil it down to an emotion or an emotional journey, because if you have addiction, if you have if you have chronic cancer, or you have something that is always coming back in your life, like, what's the emotion that it triggers in you that makes you want to either just say, screw it, I'm just going to do, be a bad person or do whatever I want, or not believe anymore, and, kind of sink into the lower vibes, whatever that is. For me, it was grief. When I go back, that was my ground zero. I loved my dad, and I was 6 years old. So it was like every loss that occurred after that brought me back to that 6-year-old girl that was grieving. So any anger that I had, any frustrations, any lack of acceptance, all that ego stuff, would come back, and I'd deal with, and I could finally kind of zoom back and look at it as an observer and say, well, wow, this is the same feeling coming back over and over again every time there's a loss in my life. It doesn't mean I have to tumble into the depths every time it happens. I can take it and take care of myself better, go into prayer, go into my energy work, and really, now I'm the patient, or now I'm the one that needs the healing, and just honor that we're never done. We're always working on growing in our wisdom. And that is the time, those dark nights of the soul are the times that, like the footprints poem, why is there only one footprint when I was having the worst time of my life? Well, that's when I carried you. And I truly believe that about walking with the Holy Spirit, that in the times that are the hardest, those are the times I'm most grateful for in my life now, because that's why I'm so strong in belief that I'm connected all the time. And so I'm having a good day, I'm like, awesome, the day is that much more amazing. And when I'm having a hard time, I'm like, I can handle this. I can help other people handle stuff.
Yeah, I found myself triggering some people and kind of getting into a Facebook debate, which I I thought I was delivered from, but somebody posted and said, thank God for all the beautiful things and all the awesome things in your life and the good things. And I replied and said, thank him for the bad things too. Oh, no, I'm not going to thank God for the bad. I was like, what, really? He's like, what I'm saying? My mind is so renewed. I just understand that everything is God. All is God. The good, the bad, the ugly, the questions, the doubt, all of it. It's all God. So you're going to thank God for his good stuff or you're like, what I'm saying? Thank him. It's like the cliche, it's easy to praise God when all things are going good for you, but you're going to shake your fist at God when things aren't going your way. That's when it matters, right? Do you still have that faith? Are you still walking in integrity when nobody's looking, when things aren't, going great for you? But understanding the sovereignty of God about it all is, the Spirit is responsible for all of it. There's no place you can go, nothing that happens that doesn't have to like ask for permission almost to, to come into your life to teach you. You know what I'm saying? You're loved. You know what I'm saying? You're like guarded by a supernatural force, which we call God or spirit or whatever. That's good. It's So all of it. Some people, it's so weird. It's like a disconnect there for a lot of people. Maybe it's just a religious thing, but I'm thankful for all of it at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a journey to get there, and we're all kind of uncovering different puzzle pieces at different times.
Yeah.
And as another teacher said to me once, so we're all at different places in the fog about it, right? Yeah. So it's like we can see clearly one way and then someone else sees this other way, and that we put all the pieces together. And a place where my spirituality kind of came together through different religious teachings, because I definitely gravitate toward the Eastern thought, Taoism and Buddhism. I love Christ consciousness, and Christianity is wonderful. I totally respect it. I don't choose to go to church, but I understand the scriptures. I understand that kind of conscience building that is important in the Christian faith, and some others I've read, Wiccan and Native American spirituality, earth magic. Oops, knocking my screen. But where it all comes together for me is that we are all channels. So we have personalities, like I'm Molly, you're Derek, you're TruthSeekah, but we have different personalities that are at first glance very different. But when we really go into the egolessness of who we are, that void, we're like containers for life force energy. So, and in that life force energy is God energy and earth energy. So we're and each other's energy. So we're all just cycling through it all the time. And again, when we think too hard about it, or we start judging, or we start fearing, that's when we get tripped up and we can't hear our intuition. We can't hear the guidance. We can't hear the peace. And that helps me kind of get through that little thing. Like, yes, all the bad things were important, and the good, and I can enjoy the good things so much more because of them.
Yeah.
I think that's important. And I'm just a channel. So that's my only prayer is thank you for making me a channel of your grace. And I just add the words as needed: clarity, healing, wisdom, whatever it is. I just affirm it. And no matter what's happening, I'm a channel for that in whatever situation I'm in. And that's just been really helpful for me to affirm that connection all the time.
That's awesome. Molly, I enjoyed this conversation, this interview. You do private sessions with people. You do energy work. All of that beautiful stuff, help people, assist with healing, all of that good stuff that we've been talking about. If people need help, they can hit you up. Go ahead and share your website and where people can get in contact with you. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, thanks. So you can find me at mollymaccartney.com. I do private readings and energy healing at a distance, and here in near Orlando, Florida. And I also have my Wisdom School. You can find that at empoweredwisdomschool.com. That's where my online course is to teach you how to develop your own intuition and to get in touch with your inner channel of light. And you can work one-on-one with me along with the course, or just take the course by itself. So that's mollymaccartney.com and empoweredwisdomschool.com.
Molly, thanks for hanging out with me. We'll have to do it again. I enjoyed it so much. Let's do it again.
Me too. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one, my friend.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye. Molly MacCartney. Enjoyed it. Got in some good conversations, some good dialogue, talking about the spirits. spirit realm, spirits, how they operate. And I've kind of dedicated my life into studying the spirit realm, how it works, how it operates, on every level. I mean, I've done the work on the negative side, like I've been there, as a misguided teen. So now I'm kind of journeying through the light and understanding how it works and how it benefits us. And like I said, I think essentially we're all playing the game called life, and there's rules to this game. There's universal law. Most of us don't even know these things or whatever. So understanding the spirit realm, how spirits operate, how we operate our body, our thoughts, intention, all of that things kind of changes the experience that we have here and can help others, right? Really good talking about the demons, man, talking about the darkness that we've all dealt with and deal with. Like when we're going through it, it's very hard. Wouldn't wish it on anyone. We, want to be delivered from the darkness. We want to be pulled out of it. We want to be brought to a better place. But the beauty is when, we can look in hindsight and and thank God for it. And maybe the beauty is when you're going through it, you thank God for it, right? I mean, there's that too. There's the inward knowing, like eventually you know that you're going to be taken care of. You know that you're not going to be forsaken. That type of understanding. So I guess whenever you're going through it, not to panic, not to freak out, which we talk about, just trust God, because this soon shall pass. We look at Job, which is, a story full of symbols for our life, and we've all been through similar situations or will. But it's about not freaking out. It's about not panicking. Like I said, we all can thank God when things are going great. And I've done it. I know many of you guys have. I know many of y'all have too. You just in this place where everything's going good. You're on that mountaintop and you're just rejoicing in the spirit. And then something happens and it just tilts you. And then the next day you're freaking out, panicking. So you were just on this mountain, this holy hill with God. And then the next day you're panicking, freaking out, don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's about like trying to find balance in that. That's not balancing. That's a teeter-totter, man. I think we're supposed to be in the middle somewhere in this really good ground that we can operate on both ends of the spectrum. I think that's where we're supposed to be. And it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of trials and testing and just the inward knowing that you don't freak out. Stop freaking out. Tell yourself, man. Because I don't think that the good, I don't think that the bad stuff's ever all gonna go away, right? People talk about like having these addictions, and like Molly was talking about, there's some things that we may take to the grave with us. We may never overcome a certain area in our life, but it's there for a reason. And we can look at a bunch of different stuff. A lot of people are addicted to pornography and they just can't overcome it. You know what I'm saying? They're just asking God to take it away. They get so, they beat themselves up when they look at something like that, or whether it's getting drunk or getting in an argument or whatever the case is. You have these character defects and these things, these addictions that you don't like about yourself that you want to stop. And people beg God to take it away, which we've all been there. But I really think that the whole worshiping God and giving glory back to the Creator is the fact that even though you have that stuff going on, you still worship God. You're still thankful. If He just took that desire or temptation away, instantly, maybe eventually it'll go away. But right now, when you're dealing with it, you're dealing with it for a reason. You're dealing with it because you're still feeding it, right? You're still feeding it. And it's going to continue to grow. The more you feed it, it's going to continue to grow. You have to choose. Part of that choosing is the worship. Am I going to fulfill the lust of the flesh, or am I going to worship God? It's you know what? That stuff, it's the lust of the flesh. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good when you do it. It makes you feel good when you go through it. When you participate. The Bible says sin is fun for a season. Sin is fun for a season. So it makes you feel good. You get this instant gratification, which is demonic anyway. Instant, you know what I'm saying? Instant gratification, what I've been studying and coming to, it's not good. Taking ecstasy pills to automatically adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin released in you're like, for no reason at all, you're feeling amazing. And you have to work at that stuff. You have to work to feel amazing. You have to eat right to feel amazing. You have to be a good person and get good, awesome, healthy friendships around you to feel good. Like, there's no shortcuts, and all of these shortcuts are not good for you by any means. And that's the same thing with the addictions, or with the pornography, or the drinking, or whatever the drugs that give you an instant gratification. That could be smoking cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes is an instant release. Instant. Oh, I just had a hell of a day. Oh my God. And you take that puff. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, nicotine. Ooh, yeah. Instant, free. God, it's killing you. It's not good. Instant gratification. You have to work at this stuff, man. It's deep. It gets really deep. Thank you, Manly P. Hall, for opening my eyes to that. You talk about like living your dreams, and I really do feel like everyone should be able to live their dream. Everyone should be able to get to do the things that they love for a living. I think that everyone deserves to be in healthy relationships. I think that, but you don't deserve anything. You deserve what you work for. How do you deserve it more than the person beside you who's actually putting in work and they're outperforming you, right? Because they care about it and they're feeding it and they're staying diligent. So you just deserve it just because you're entitled. You have to work for that stuff. If you work for it, yeah, you deserve it. You get it. You earn it. You want a good marriage? You want a good relationship with a spouse? You got to do things. You have to feed it. You have to grow it. And you want power in the spirit? You want authority over spirits? Show self-control. Start doing stuff, man. Adam Starseed Bay says, praying and meditation is key in one's life, in one's daily life, becoming your own personal self-healer and dealing with the shadows of the past and present within one's life. True. It's a daily walk. We're not handed anything. It's easy to get complacent. It's easy to get comfortable. You have to get out of your comfort zone. Don't never get there, man. It's a weird place. I say don't never get there. Don't ever quit trying, man. Don't ever give up. Don't ever take anything for granted. And never say never. Don't take nothing for granted. Never say never. Thank you, Justin Bieber. Never say never. Look. It's a trip, man. Testing. You create what you want. Hard work pays off. I'm going to continue to say it. You know, you have to build it, man. If you build it, they will come. Do it. Got a bone to pick with somebody on my public platform. Bone to pick with somebody. I'm not going to call this person's name out, which I've talked about this person in the past, but this is the I'm not going to even, I don't know. The overbearing fans. This is for you. Ask yourself, am I an overbearing fan? Social media is very weird. It gives you access to people and relationships that you might not need, or whatever the case is. Are you an overbearing fan? And I've talked about this, like, and I'm talking about somebody in particular. Probably not you guys, but it's one person. I've talked about this person in the past. This woman keeps calling my phone, professing her undying love to me. This lady left me like 25 voicemail messages this weekend. Woman, if you're listening, stop calling my phone. I got her number blocked, but it still sends her the voicemail. Man, listen, stop it. You're crazy. You're a crazy person. Stop harassing me. You are an overbearing fan. My wife has to deal with that. My wife has to put up with that. The crazy people, delusional people, like crazy. I messed around and this lady hit me up. Shoot, man, this been like 3-4 years ago now. This lady hit me up, talking about she can help me book guests and send like emails for the podcast, and I needed help with that. So there was some people who were fans commenting on all my stuff. I messed around and gave this lady my phone number and talked to her about, you know what I'm saying, potentially helping me with the podcast. This is like 4 years ago. And then she's just been professing her undying love. She knows I'm married. She knows I'm happy. Like, I haven't entertained it by any means. I've told her stay away, and these people keep coming. I know it comes with the territory, but don't be an overbearing fan. I'm happily married. I love my wife. There's been a bunch of weird scenarios that happen. Friends, their wives will hit me up, profess their undying love to me. They get my phone number out of their husband's phone, and they'll text me about their undying love and dreams and fantasies. Crazy, demonic stuff, man. I'm happily married. If that's you and you're thinking about doing that, please don't do it to me. These other artists, they don't want you doing it to them too. I know I'm a regular person at the end of the day. May have some influence, may make good music. I think I do. But that doesn't give you the right to do that, man. But then, you know, it's the overbearing fans. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's not wanted. Don't be an overbearing fan. But these people are delusional. Like, they need psychiatric help. They really do. Like, 'cause they get into some weird stuff. Not just me. Trust me. I've heard stories over the years of pastors, dealing with that, and the spiritual leaders dealing with that, and these women who profess their undying love to the pastor, and God told me I'm supposed to be with you. God told me that you're my wife. God told me your husband. It's like, well, he told me something different because I'm happily married. Adam Starseed Bay says the Spirit's testing you, brother. It's not a test for me. It's a test for my wife. Definitely a test for my wife. My wife has to deal with that, to know that her husband is being petitioned by these women all the time. I don't. Chris said, give me her number. I got this. You know what? I thought about getting the number and sending it to you guys in Discord and say, you know what? Give her a taste of her own medicine, man. And just letting all of you guys call her. Call these people up. I had to get myself, though. That's the troll in me coming out. You know what I'm saying? Christy folks. They fall in love with the persona and become obsessed. Fanatic is what Aaron Fowler says. Man, I believe it, Aaron. I really do. And I think they see that what in church we would say, they see the God in you. It's not you, it's the God in you. It's the holiness. It's what you represent. You're a leader. You have prestige and renown. Adam says you're being tested, brother. I say, like I said, my wife's being tested. We're all going to be tested. You're going to be tested too, Adam. You're trying to go out there on the front lines, and you're going to get better at it, and you're going to get an audience, and lonely women out there are going to watch you and stuff, and they're going to try to hit you up. You're married, happily married with kids and stuff as well. I passed the test. I'm passing the test. We have other people out there. I can go down a long list. I've been in ministry or been in the church realm for a long time, and I know ministers who have fallen. They didn't pass the test. They traded their wife in that they've been with for 20 years, 25 years. They traded her in with a younger looking virgin. A younger virgin came along. You done had 3-4 kids with her. She's put on some weight. You still have your charisma. And then the first time you're petitioned by a younger woman, you fall away. I don't like that. If you're a married man, like, that's weak. You're not a spiritual leader in my book. You got to deal with that, man. They're going to come. They're going to come. And I'm like, and sometimes it's the crazy women, and sometimes it's the crazy dudes. Like I get crazy messages all the time. And like, and after these interactions on Facebook and stuff, like I wonder like how long I'm going to be on social media, man. Like I can't deal with that every day. Like you need to be talking to a publicist or a booking agent or something, man. Some of these people, golly. And I like what Illuminati Congo said some time ago. He said, if you have an artist, a rapper, and you love them and you love the art and what they create and what they bring to the table, leave them alone and let them create. Like stay out of their inbox. I love encouraging messages. I love challenging messages. But when you just, man, there's etiquette to be used. The overbearing fan. And I wonder if I would have been an overbearing fan at some point. Like I wonder, like years ago, if I would have had my favorite rapper's phone number. Or years ago, if I would have had Jonathan Davis's personal cell phone. How many texts would I have sent him 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever? How many texts would I have sent Jonathan Davis? Dogs are like barking at the door, really weird. I feel like I might have been an overbearing fan at some point. It's about using etiquette, man. And don't like if you honor somebody's word, let them create, man. Like I said, I'm not saying don't contact me, but if you're on some weird stuff, stay away, please. I don't have time for it. I have like so much stuff that I'm doing right now. That's a PSA. It's gonna come to everyone, especially anyone who seeks a public platform, or you're out there in front of the people. Politicians it happens to everybody, but you got to pass the test, man. Don't if you're building with somebody you've been building for years and y'all are in love, man, don't let the next hard body woman, the first time you get petitioned, you fall. I know many men who have fell in the churches, in spirituality, Facebook ministries. Start getting a little fame, a little renown. This stuff could be easily taken away from you. Like you have to pass the test. You're going to be tested. You have to understand that it could be taken away. So I understand that. I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for the platform. I'm thankful that I have an audience, that I'm helping people. I know my calling. I know who I am. But I mean, instantly, man, there's things that you can do that'll take that away, or take the anointing away, man. You know what I'm saying? The power in your voice. Take it away. And you still showing up. You still going live. You still trying. But there's no anointing. You still talking, but your words are falling upon deaf ears. There's things that you can do to lose that. You got to balance it. Balance those chakras, man. Balance the energy. Understand that everything you're doing physically has spiritual implications. Go to God, man. Get alone with God. Find out what you're supposed to be doing and do it. Whatever that is. Now people in the chat are begging me to send you this lady's phone number. I'm not gonna do it. I have to go, man. These dogs are freaking out trying to get in this room. I don't know what's happening. Something's going on. They think they're hungry or something. But with that, I'm gonna say peace and shalom. I enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys did too. Really enjoyed it. If you'd like to support, if you're not yet a patron, you're missing out. Definitely. My full discography of music, everything that we've been talking about in this episode, I have in song formats. So there's songs about all of this stuff. There's songs about spirits in the middle of the night. There's songs about intuition and astral traveling, all of that cool stuff. Head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah and sign up for any level of giving. You get access to my entire discography of music, which is like 10 plus albums, and all that good stuff. And you get access to Thursday Night School of the Mystics too. Come hang out with us there. with that, yeah, that'll pretty much do it. I'm gonna say peace and shalom. I think I covered everything. You guys are asking about the mug. Got these awesome mugs in for those of you guys watching on video. If you're not, I have TruthSeekah mugs available, which I think they're pretty cool. TruthSeekah.com. Go there, click on the mug. It helps support the show as well. All different ways of giving. Everything is in the description of these videos and podcasts. So if you'd like to support, you're like, man, I want to help you. There's tons of things you could do financially to help. You can get merch. You can get all kind of cool stuff. And then even if you don't have any money, there's ways you can help as well. Look in the description of this video. So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. I love you guys, and we'll do it again. Oh, one more rant. I got another rant for you guys. These things that are getting under my skin. Okay. I talked about a couple weeks ago that I was supposed to be doing a concert in Mississippi. I was supposed to be doing a concert. The guy, I told him my guarantee to come out, how much I would charge. Wasn't a lot. I worked with the guy in the past doing some stuff. And something happened, and he guaranteed me the money. We made the flyer. I put it out on all my social media, sent out all the email lists, blah, blah, blah. We're looking forward to this concert, working on the set list, got other people lined up to go with me. 2 weeks before the event, the guy messages me and says, hey, we had a fallout with some of the other artists on there. This dude, like, I think his wife beat up the other artist. Okay, that's the fallout. Weird Mississippi stuff, guys. His wife beat up one of the other artists. So they dropped off, husband and wife duo that was going to be performing. Anyway, so now it was just me and my buddy, Justin Caldwell, was going to be performing with me. Dude hits me up 2 weeks before, told me that those artists fell off and that he wasn't going to be able to pay me the guarantee to come out. Will I still do it? Just do it on love. We're friends, whatever. I said, I can't. Like, I'm doing this full time. I'd have to pay out of my pocket to come and perform and blah, blah, blah. And it's a long drive for me. I can't do it, bro. He's okay. Well, we'll just reschedule. We'll get you in October and I'll pay you the money. I'll have the money up front, which he already told me he had the money up front. Anyway, we'll reschedule. Cool. All right. So they, they were going to cancel the show, but Justin and his uncle were going to go out there and perform anyway. So they made a new flyer. They started promoting it. My mom lives in Louisiana. She's driving through to come visit. She happens to be driving from Louisiana to Alabama. She's going through Mississippi. She's listening to the radio the week of the concert. TruthSeekah performing live in concert. Blah, 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 blah. They doing commercials on the radio that I'm still going to be there. And I canceled it, told him, I tried to send out on my social media, hey, and I found out, man, I contacted the guy, I said, bro, you can't be doing that. Like, you got to let these people know I'm not coming. Oh, I'm sorry, man. They just had an old flyer, whatever. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was deceitful. I don't know. Anyway, but I was still being promoted as being at that concert. And come to find out, I don't know who it was. My sincerest apologies if you're listening. I don't know who it was, but I heard that there were people there who showed up to see me. People who drove an hour and a half to this little hole in the wall in Mississippi to see TruthSeekah perform, and I wasn't there. Definitely wasn't my fault. I'm sorry that happened. Please don't hold it against me. Thank you for coming out and driving that far to see me. It really means a lot. There will be more. We're going to be planning some more stuff. Get connected with what I'm doing, just to I definitely say follow me on social media, just in case anything like that happens and we cancel shows or something. I didn't send out an email. I just, and I think this is maybe the first or second time I'm talking about canceling the shows. Anyway, I'm sorry about that, whoever drove out there, but that upset me, man. That they were still promoting the show like I was going to be there, and people did drive an hour and a half. They did that to me one time. We went to an Under Oath concert, and we drove an hour to go see Under Oath. We were so looking forward to it. Drove to Pensacola, Florida. It's an hour for us because Under Oath was going to be there. We get there, and there's a sign on the door, Under Oath will not be with us tonight. They had van issues. I'm like, man, I wonder how long they knew Under Oath wasn't going to be on this bill. And this was early days of Under Oath, guys, if anybody knows what it is. we still stayed and seen the other bands, and we made the best of it. But I mean, we wouldn't have won if Under Oath wasn't playing. And I wonder, like, there's been a lot of stuff in the past where like these people will FouseyTube, one of the who at one point was one of the largest YouTubers out there, most popular, FouseyTube. If you guys know who that is, I have a teenage daughter, so I know who FouseyTube is. He used to do prank videos and stuff. But anyway, he just threw an event, rented out a building, and just went on some weird law of attraction stuff. Rented out the Greek Palace Theater in California and just said that Drake was going to show up. Started promoting that Drake was going to be there. Hadn't talked to Drake. He was on like some universal law and the secret stuff. He just kept saying it over and over and telling people he's promoting Drake's going to be there. Drake wasn't nowhere around. They didn't have anybody show up. A couple of YouTubers hanging out, and that's something that's happened a lot in the past that I've heard of, like people finding out that they've been promoting that this artist was going to be at their concert, and then that nobody's even heard about it. You know what I'm saying? That's not cool. So again, I'm sorry if whoever that was. Contact me. Let me know who you were, man. I'll send you some merch out or something like that. Make it up to you. But we will be doing some more shows here. I know we're going to do another house show over at Justin's mom, Deborah's house, which is where I had my album release party. We had a lot of fun that night. People drove from all over the country to come in. So we're going to do that again. Have a good time with that. We're supposed to be going to Tallahassee as well. We'll be talking about that event coming up pretty soon. As soon as like there's like official stuff, nothing's official, but it's supposed to be September 22nd. But as soon as like there's an official flyer and event created, I think it's just like word of mouth right now. But I'm supposed to be performing at that. So with all that being said, man, thank you guys for the support. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah, and we'll make it happen. Home Sauce says it gets real when husbands start confessing their love. Oh yeah, right. I've got those guys out there too. It's crazy. I'm not bragging. I don't want it. I rebuke it in Jesus' name. I don't want it. Chris Barr says Justin's house when we want to probably shoot for early November. I want to say early November. We'll make it happen, G. With peace, with love and understanding. I love you guys. Peace be upon you. And we'll do it again very soon. Got another show coming up Thursday. So, peace and shalom.
Your way is so much higher than mine. So much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine. So much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.